This is Jupiter Today for the 2nd of December 2014. Jupiter Today is a daily podcast focusing attention on the dynamic Jupiter system for the purpose of monitoring activity. At 0 hours UTC, the position of Jupiter on the celestial sphere is a right ascension of 9 hours, 39 minutes, 46.7 seconds, and a declination of positive 14 degrees, 45 minutes, 41.4 seconds. The current angular separation between Jupiter and the Sun, from our point of view today, is 107.163 degrees, and that's 0.989 degrees greater than it was yesterday. The distance between Earth and Jupiter is 738,366,586 kilometers, and that's 2,247,127 kilometers closer than yesterday. The Earth in its orbit around the Sun is catching up to Jupiter, and that relative velocity is 93,630.29 kilometers per hour, and that's 479.29 kilometers per hour slower than yesterday. At 0 hours UTC, Io begins the day in Quadrant 2, moving west. Europa is still in Quadrant 2, heading west, but it's soon to transit, and then spends the rest of the day in Quadrant 3, heading west. At 6 hours UTC, Io has just finished transiting Jupiter and is now in Quadrant 3 heading west. Europa is also in Quadrant 3 heading west. Ganymede spends the entire day in Quadrant 4 heading east. And Callisto spends the entire day in Quadrant 2, heading west. At 12 hours UTC, Io is in Quadrant 3, still heading west. Europa is also in Quadrant 3 still. At 1800 hours, Io has just passed its western elongation and is now in Quadrant 4, heading east. Europa is getting fairly close to its western elongation, but it's still in Quadrant 3, heading west. And by 0 hours tomorrow, Io is in the shadow of Jupiter. Europa and Ganymede are very near a mutual event, and Callisto continues in Quadrant 2, heading west. There are 8 Jupiter satellite events, so I will just list them. At 1:24 UTC, Europa begins its transit of Jupiter. At 1:51, Europa's shadow egresses. At 2:28, Io's shadow ingresses. At 3:38, Io begins its transit of Jupiter. At 4:17, Europa ends its transit. At 4:44, Io's shadow egresses. At 5:54, Io, the transit of Io across Jupiter, ends. And at 23:37, Io disappears behind the shadow of Jupiter. There are two satellite mutual events. The first takes place at 1858, when Europa, the shadow of Europa, is cast upon the surface of Ganymede. So Europa's shadow eclipses Ganymede. This is a 5.9 minute event, and the estimated magnitude drop is 0.019. That's 19 one-thousandths of a magnitude. Anyone interested in searching for planets around other stars needs to be able to see that kind of magnitude drop. The second satellite mutual event happens at 23:25 and is a 7.1 minute event when Europa occults Ganymede. Okay, 24 hours of the Jupiter sky. Here we go. There's Ganymede to what would be our west of Jupiter. There's Callisto in quadrant 2. There's Io and Europa playing tag. This is about the time when Europa's shadow is eclipsing Ganymede. And this is about the time when Europa eclipses Ganymede. There are 3 red spot meridian crossings today. The first is at 1:13, the second is at 11:09, and the third is at 21:05 UTC. There were no new images, no new radio data, and no new papers as far as I could find. So please subscribe, and thank you for subscribing. Please send your comments and images with the time that you took them to the email shown. And until tomorrow, I bid you peace.